Welcome to Kennebec Fly Tiers, sponsored by the Kennebec Valley chapter of Trout Unlimited. Today we're going to tie Frost Blue Smelt. A very good pattern. It's effective. It's tied on a long shanked hook. This is a 9x long Mustad 94720 hook. Even though it's a size 6 and it has this length, it's easily cast with a 5 or a 6 weight rod. And is a pretty effective fly. It's tied with this mylar tubing for a body material. Has a cotton core. You can buy it in long lengths like this, and I generally tie this in a size 6, so I cut up a bunch of lengths and have them all ready for this size hook. I'll grab one here and show you how I prepare these. Check to make sure I've got plenty of length, and then I poke this mylar back a little bit and just pull on this cotton core. Try to get it to slide out of there. There it goes. And that's going to allow me to slide that mylar tubing over the shank of the hook. So we'll get rid of that core and slide this tubing in. You can see I've already got my thread hanging back there waiting for it. Try not to unravel that too much, and tie the ends down. And all you do is just keep wrapping over until you get a nice kind of like a streamer head, only on the back side it's a tag. And I'm going to tie 3 half hitches in here to secure this. I can't reach back there with the whip finish tool, and hand whip finish knots back there are pretty tough, so half hitches are the name of the game. But generally, if I do half hitches, I put 3 in, because while I'm reaching for the jar of cement, one of them comes untied. They aren't very reliable, but they do the job. They hold it long enough for you to get it cemented, and that's what really counts. So put some head cement on here. Got to do it now because you can't later when you do the head and the wing. And uh-oh, look what I found here. I missed some of the mylar. I should have looked before I cut my thread off. The only thing you can do when you find a problem like that is go back and correct it. And you got to do it right then. You can't get it done later. So I kind of sped this up so you wouldn't have to watch the whole process, but I went back and wrapped over, covered up that piece of mylar that was sticking out, and put new head cement on here, and we'll resume with the regular tying now. To get this mylar to the right length, the first thing you do is secure the front with a few wraps of thread. Pull that pretty tight. If while you're pulling it tight, if it slips and slides a little bit, don't worry too much about that. You're going to secure it down more later. I'm just making sure it is a real tight fit on here and it's not going to slip or come loose, I mean. Push this mylar towards the front, get it tight on the shank. And then to cut this, if you cut too far back, you won't get anything. You got to find the hollow, the little dip right there where there's a space for your scissor heads to close and cut. Then you can pull that mylar right up above the hook shank and cut it off. Get nice and tight, and wrap the front ends down, and this binds it so that it won't slide around on the hook shank anymore. And with that, the body of this fly is done. Now we'll try to set the wing, and the wing is with bucktail. And I've got a bucktail here, and this hair at the bottom of the bucktail looks nice and straight and like it would make a great wing. But it's this hair up on the tip of the bucktail that you want to use, and I'll show you why here. I'm going to cut some wing material off the bottom of this bucktail down at the base of it. I'll clean the flyaway junky stuff out of there, and then tie this onto the hook. And because this was on the bottom of the bucktail and it's close to the body and the body hair, this hair is hollow. And see how it flares when I tighten that down? You don't want that out of your for your stream of wings. You don't want that out of your bucktail. You want it to tighten down on there and stay nice and flat. Now using that same bucktail, let me go up on the tip top up here, and you can see I've cut a bunch of stuff off the right side of the tail already, tying flies earlier. And I'll get some of this hair and pull it out to get the tips about even, and then cut it off. Check it for length, and this is just a test here. You watch how I set this on. I pull that thread really tight. I mean, I'm cranking on that. There's another really good pull, and no flare. That's what you want. When you can set your wing like that and just crank on that thread and it doesn't break. I mean, excuse me, doesn't. I'll break it later. It doesn't flare the hair, then you're in good shape. So this is a piece of a group of hair we want, a clump of hair that we want to work with. I'll take these and stroke these out, and they call this hand stacking. You just try to even up the ends. And then you get them as close as you can, sliding them out and gripping them like that, and then you just go ahead and pull some other pieces until you get the tips fairly aligned. And this is what you want to prevent. Your wing being long enough so that it can wrap down around the hook like this while you're casting. You need to tie these wings short enough so that the hair won't get wrapped down around in the bend of the hook like that when you're actually fishing. You can see how the water would almost pull that length of hair out. That's about the size that we want then for a length. And I'm going to show you 3 ways of putting these wings on. I'll cut this excess off here, and we'll start with the pinch technique. This is a very effective technique, and you can use it for all kinds of different materials. And you put the thread in, between your thumb and forefinger like this with that loop up above, and then just pull straight down, and it clamps that hair right on the very top of the hook. Now I'll take that off and show you a second method. This one they call the noose loop method. That was the pinch. This is the noose loop. And you make an actual loop around the wing, and then just let the weight of the bobbin pull that down. I'm kind of sliding that back and forth, but you see the weight of the bobbin will pull that thread right down. And you can set that right on top. You can keep it up there, and it keeps it nicely clumped. If you're stacking 2 or 3 different materials one on top of the other, this is a really good way of keeping that material together and preventing it from wrapping down around the hook. Now, you can see how hard I'm pulling on that, and that's what happens if you pull too hard. So, if you happen to break your thread one day or another, here's what you do. You reach over and grab your hackle pliers, holding that thread all the time, of course, and let those hackle pliers hang on there and keep some tension on that while you rethread your bobbin. And then you just come back and start your thread again. Get some loose thread out here to work with. There we go. Wrap back and trap that broken piece. I'll cut off this tag first. Grab that, make another wrap around it. Cut off that thread and get rid of those hackle pliers, and we're back to where we were. So let me show you this other method. This is a thread wrap. Watch how the thread pulls us halfway around the hook. And this second wrap of thread, not too much tension, but pushing, see how it pushes it up around the hook? And those 2 wraps pull that right up on top, almost all the way around. A third wrap would have finished it. Let me show you that again. You take the hair, you're holding it on the side like this. This first wrap is going to pull the hair halfway around. Put a little tension on it. And then come up fairly good bite on the thread here, and see how it wrapped that the rest of the way? And that is setting the wing just using thread control, and it's fine for setting something on a shank like this, a bare shank, but if you're trying to stack 2 or 3 materials one on top of the other, it's not a very good technique because it tends to pull the material that's on the bottom over to the side. So we'll continue on with the fly, and I'm going to tie this fly using the noose loop method. Can kind of slide that tie-in point around until I get it where I think I want it, and then just lower it down and let the wing sit on the fly. Couple turns, I can check it, make sure it's fine. And I'm going to cut these off at an angle which will help me build a tapered head. Wrap those butt ends down. Get back up to my tie-in point and get some peacock herl. Now this is strung peacock herl. You can buy it like this, or you can buy actual peacock feathers and pull the herl pieces off as you need them. I'm just going to take 4 pieces. There was one recipe that I saw did actually give you a number. It said 4 pieces of herl. Very specific. So I've got 4, and I'm arranging them here, getting them so they kind of all point the same way, if you will. Got the tips about aligned. I'll cut those tips, the butt ends off that I'm going to tie in, so that I got a nice square end to work with. Spin that bobbin, kind of tighten that thread up a little bit, twist it into a tighter rope. And I'm going to pinch to do these. Tie those ends down. And we've only got one more component to this wing, and that is some light blue bucktail. You can see the difference in the light and the dark. The dark is not recommended. Now I'm going to speed this up a little bit because you've seen this technique. I'm going to use the loose noop again. Or the noose loop. So I check the length that I want. Don't need all that extra out there. I'll trim some of that off and now make my loop. Drop it down. It's a little off to the side. I can pull it right up on top. So the nice thing about the noose loop is that you can move things around. Go ahead and cut that at an angle again. And then and build my head. And now you see I got a little bit of a drop there, so I have to keep going towards the front to the eye and then wrapping up onto the hill. You can't wrap downhill without it sliding like it just did right there. You have to go down to the eye quickly with a big wide wrap, and then wrap back up the hill if you have to smooth out your head because of a bump, material bump like I had. But there you go. There's the body and the wing on this fly. Time for a whip finish knot here to allow me to cut the thread, and then we'll put a little head cement on and paint a set of eyes on this fly. The pattern does specifically call for a pair of eyes to be painted on. So put one layer of head cement on, let that dry. It soaks right in. You can see the nice shiny smooth coat. It looks beautiful, but as soon as it soaks in and dries, well, it's not quite so smooth and shiny anymore, but a progressive number of coats just keep building it up, and you can always have smooth heads. I paint my eyes with these Sharpie white paint. It's not a magic marker. I'm not sure what you call it. It's just a paint tool, I guess. But I got to push the plunger here and get a little more paint on there. And let me try that again. There we go. It's an oil-based paint. It stays very good. People normally often use head cement, white head cement. But this is very neat, very easy to do, and it's a lot easier than trying to use head cement and toothpicks to put a drop of material on here for the eye. Give that a chance to dry, and I take another Sharpie marker, again an indelible marker, so I know this isn't going to just fade out on me. and as carefully as I can put a couple pupils in here. And then if I'm fishing these myself, I just go ahead and fish them. But if I'm giving them away, then I end up putting another coat or two of clear head cement over the top of this. And there you have it. There's a frost blue smelt, brought to you by Kennebec Valley Fly Tiers. Kennebec Valley Fly Tiers are a group of volunteers from the Kennebec Valley chapter of Trout Unlimited, number 355. Hope you enjoyed the fly.